All right, this is Chat UTD. It's obvious, having observed the club for the last 5 months in particular, that INEOS have come in to do start again job really, and been inclusive of obviously some really difficult decisions that they've had to make, cost cutting, people losing their jobs, etc. And they will have known when they first came in how bad things were, because in preparation for taking a stake in a club or buying a club, you always get full access to all the financial information. So it won't have been a surprise to them that it's as bad as it is. And we're in a state of complete crisis management and avoidance of catastrophe. Basically, that's where we're at the moment, both on and off the pitch. But I just wish they'd have been honest in the first place, because what we actually heard when they first came in was, we're looking to cultivate a culture of excellence, elite performance, and in 2 to 3 years we're going to be competing again. When they absolutely knew that wasn't possible. There's no way that could be possible with the financial problems that the club's got and the stuff they knew they'd have to do, which now they're doing. And one thing Mancunians will appreciate is honesty. United fans will stick by the team to a fault, actually. United fans will do that. And I think if what we were told was something along the lines of, we're really going to have to batten down the hatches and stick together here, this is going to be a rocky ride for a couple of years. It's a siege mentality. It's us against the world. We have got a lot of issues here that we need to deal with. First and foremost, we're going to have to make a lot of unpopular decisions, and then we'll make incremental improvements from there. I think, whilst not everybody would be happy with that, they'd have accepted it because it's truthful. When you lie, which essentially they have, it always catches up with you. I'm not naive. I know that people have to put forward manifestos as to what they're going to do, but the truth will out, won't it? And it has done. And what that creates is an atmosphere of mistrust. And now, not everyone, but a lot of United fans don't like INEOS, don't trust them, and they're being thrown into the same songs as the Glazers. INEOS have had pretty successful time in business. Obviously, they've got some other sporting ventures, but they've never taken on something like United with the amount of emotional stakeholders that United have got. And I think, to be honest, the PR has been shit, because some simple things that they could have done differently would have made a massive impact, I think. And thinking about that, the club being in crisis management, which for me it is, everything they're doing at the moment smacks of crisis management and firefighting. I look at the appointment of Amorim, and on the face of it, it was a really impressive appointment. Progressive, aggressive, forward-thinking young manager with the potential to become an elite manager. But is he the right manager for the stage that we're at, when all around us is crisis management and firefighting? So did we really need a firefighter? I would say yes. We've gone for a manager that makes everyone stand up and take notice and go, wow, that's impressive. But there's no substance to it, because you haven't got the money to give him what he needs to create a team in his image. And what we have there isn't a team in his image. It's very much not a team in his image. So I would, in hindsight, have preferred that they have the courage of their convictions to get a manager for the stage we're at, rather than the stage they wish to be. If you look at, I'm going to take Liverpool and Everton as an example. Let's look at David Moyes. If David Moyes went in to Liverpool in the summer last year, would Liverpool be top of the league now? No chance. He's gone into Everton, done a really good job, because he's a firefighter. He's a basic manager who gets a lot out of players who are probably not that great. If Amorim would have gone to Liverpool, in the summer, I think Liverpool will probably be in a similar position to where they are now. But Amorim was at United by the time Everton didn't have a manager. But if Sean Dyche would have been sacked in October, would Everton have gone for Amorim? No, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And whether we like it or not, we're more Everton than we are Liverpool at the moment. We're a club and a team that is bang average in the bottom half of the table. An analogy. The situation is, you've got a clapped out old Fiat Punto, and the task is you get it through rush hour traffic in town in Manchester to a specific destination. Your choices of who drives the car, me or Lewis Hamilton. Who's a better driver, Lewis Hamilton? If I was driving around a racetrack at 200 miles an hour, I'd be dead very quickly. But thinking about driving through town in rush hour traffic, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. You've got to make sure the clutch is in the right place, all that kind of thing. Do you know little nooks and crannies that can get you to the place quicker? I'm probably your man, because I used to have a clapped out old Fiat Punto, and I've driven in town at rush hour countless times. But I'm a better driver than Lewis Hamilton? Nope. You've got to go with the person that fits the situation you're in. On this channel, I've spoken over the last year about the stages that United would need to go through to be back to the top again. And I always actually said that stage one was finishing 5th or 6th, starting to have some kind of semblance of a way of playing, a feeling of enjoyment around the ground, clear the decks of the players who haven't got the physical, mental, emotional and psychological wherewithal to play for the club. Maybe have quite a few young players in there, win perhaps the odd domestic cup, and time seemed to be moving in the right direction. That would be stage one. Stage two would be regularly finish top either 2nd, 3rd, 4th, those sort of positions, have a really discernible style of play, something that we could all identify with, young players, attacking players, reliable players, players very much of the ilk that you would say should be playing for Manchester United, a clear DNA, winning trophies, but falling just short of the big ones. That's stage two. Stage three, winning Premier Leagues and being in the conversation to win Champions Leagues and actually winning Champions Leagues would be stage three. Now, I've always said, I don't think under this ownership structure we're going to achieve stage three. But it's clear to me, actually, there's an extra stage which I hadn't considered. We're not in that stage one. Stage one is firefight, hang in there for dear life and avoid catastrophe both on and off the pitch. It's survival mode that we're in now. And that's stage one. We're a year into INEOS and that's what's happening. So that's stage one. So stage two will become my original stage one. Stage three will become my original stage two. And stage four will be my original stage three. And that means that the ultimate of winning the title and stuff like that is even further away than I'd initially thought. And is not possible anyway under this ownership structure. But bringing it back to Ruben Amorim, is he a stage one manager? Is he a firefighter? Is he an avoidance of catastrophe manager? I'm not sure. I think he'd make a good original stage one manager, get you in the top 6 and then push on from there. Maybe he is more of a firefighter than I'm giving him credit for, but certainly at the moment that's not the way it appears. And I think he's had both hands tied behind his back. I think it's a really, really pretty much impossible job. And I like most things about him. I think his demeanour, I love the way he prowls up and down the touchline. I love how pissed off he is. He says it just as it is. The stuff he's done with Rashford. He's refreshingly honest. And I like how strong he is in his conviction of what he wants to do. But on the pitch, it's not worked at all. And if he was given the tools to do it properly, I'm sure it would work better. But he hasn't. He's not in a club with those tools to be able to. Sorry, he's not in a club that can give him those tools. just to throw a name out there, not to have now, but I'm saying, I suppose it's speculative really, but in hindsight, Solskjaer, never an elite manager, never going to lead United to titles when he was here initially, or if he ever came back. But I'll tell you what, hell of a firefighter. Knows the club, would harness a spirit that was probably a bit more United-like, would rally the troops, would create a nice atmosphere, would probably get quite a few points on the board. He's not a manager to take United into the stage we want to be at, but he's a stage one manager if stage one is avoid catastrophe and firefight. I'm a fan. I can speak in hindsight. I'd have gone absolutely not. Like I'd have been appalled if they'd have appointed Solskjaer. I'd have said, "What the fuck are they doing?" As would a lot of people, and on the face of it, rightly so. But really, it doesn't matter what we think. They knew the situation. INEOS know the situation. They know the financial problems at the club. They know what we can and what we can't do. And as I say, you have to have a manager that suits the stage you're at. Solskjaer would have been a much better shout than Amorim. Is he a better manager? No way. No chance is he. But I hope you see what I mean. It's like, appoint a manager for the stage you're at rather than the stage somewhere down the line that isn't there yet. I feel desperately sorry for Amorim. I think he's, as I say, I think potentially could be a real top manager. And I said on the day that Ten Hag got sacked, we need a standard bearer. I made that comment based on the assumption at that point in October that INEOS knew what they were doing and had some money and were able to support a standard bearer. We aren't able to do that. So what we actually needed was a firefighter. And in the last few months, as I say, that's become obvious in the atmosphere of crisis management, which is everywhere around the club, and austerity. Moving on, there's one of the viewers has made a few comments recently, and his name is Nota, which you might say is Nota, but it's not. It's no tar. Now, for people that are not from Manchester, tar is I think Mancunian expression for thanks. No tar, as in no thanks. So, love the name, by the way. And I'm going to paraphrase no tar, what you said in the last video. Sorry, as a comment on the Fulham analysis, the Fulham reaction. You said obviously it's difficult to watch. It was always going to take time. It perhaps was going to get worse before it gets better. But ultimately, you said you've got to believe that something big's around the corner for United. First and foremost, I absolutely admire anybody that has the ability to keep the faith. But that's what it is. It's, for me, faith is when you believe in something you can't see yet. And United's history is littered with recoveries that we wouldn't have thought were possible and give us reason to think we should keep the faith. So who would have ever fathomed that after Munich, United could ever come back from that? The team was decimated. We lost 8 of our players. The club nearly folded. The assistant manager had to take the reins and keep the club going. And a few months later, we're in the FA Cup final. 5 years later, we won the FA Cup. 7 years later, we won the league. And 10 years later, we were the champions of Europe. Phoenix from the flames, incredible. Who would have ever thought we could recover from relegation in 74? We very quickly recovered from that. By 77, we were beating Liverpool in the FA Cup final and finishing in the top part of the league. Moving forward, who could ever think we would recover from Ferguson retiring? We haven't recovered from him retiring, and one of the reasons is the next thing we haven't recovered from is you can't recover from the Glazers while they're still here. In fact, it'd be really difficult to recover from the Glazers had they gone, unless you had filthy rich owners, because the legacy damage that the Glazers have done is so incredible and vast, as we're finding out now, but the problem is they're still here. So whilst United's history is littered with recoveries and rising from the ashes and literally in the case of Munich. This is a different problem. And this is why I think as fans we need to mobilise ourselves. When you said about something big on the horizon, Notar, the only big things I can see on the horizon for United are, I don't think we'll get relegated, certainly not this season, or any, I don't think we'll get relegated full stop, but being close to it and being close to going to the wall, and again, it won't happen, but I can see it getting close, because I can't see anything else that makes me think anything different is going to happen. And as it stands, with the plans to sort of put the prices up of the tickets and stuff like that, fans are paying more for the privilege of keeping the people who are responsible for us paying more in the first place in the Glazers, which is an absurd situation to be in. Although I have a slight alternative thought on that, which I'm going to come to now. There's call it a protest, like I've said in another video. I think it's more of a loud complaint. There's things planned for Sunday by the 1958 ahead of the Arsenal game. It's all the same stuff that we've seen before. There was press releases about it earlier in the week. So they meet at the Tollgate pub. They march to the ground. I think they get together around, I think it's the Munich tunnel. There'll be a lot of noise. There'll probably be green and gold flares. People will complain loudly about the situation. It needs to go further than that. But it'll probably be well attended, I imagine. So if you get that and that gets some momentum and you do that again in a couple of weeks' time at the next home game, and if then there is more strategy behind it and we start to see perhaps that we're actually trying to get the Glazers out and there's enough people, I'm going to make a prediction. I think the club potentially, if we complain loudly enough, will either announce a freeze on the ticket prices, because they've not really made their mind up on what they're doing on ticket prices yet. I don't think. Last I heard, they haven't anyway. So they'll either put a freeze on those ticket prices, or they'll put the prices up, but not astronomically, not as much as they were planning to, and they'll probably bring back concessions for youngsters and OAPs. And what will happen then is that loud complaint will just stop dead. And the abusers, the owners, they know that. But the abusers in this case need their victims at the moment. They need the victims to still come. They don't want the victims to be too unhappy. So they're breadcrumbing, as I mentioned before. They're leaving you just enough crumbs to think that they care or think that they're invested. Now, a proper protest wouldn't stop at that, because a proper protest is strategic and with the idea of change at the end of it, which means the Glazers leave the club. And keeping the ticket prices the same would make no difference to that. You keep going until you get your end result. But I know with this loud complaint, what would end up happening is they give you one gesture, which is they'll keep the ticket price the same, and they'll bring back concessions, and it will stop dead. Then, in a year's time, they'll do what they were planning to do anyway. But by that point, any momentum in the so-called protest will have gone. And you could argue, the cynic in me might argue, that this was what the plan was all along. We'll put out there that we're going to put prices up, and then when we don't do it, we look like we've done them a favour. Psychological, isn't it? Could be completely wrong. Look, if we're as skint as we seem to be, then maybe they have to put the ticket prices up. But that's just something I would keep an eye on. Temporary change to keep the victims invested. I'm going to keep saying it. The only way this club moves forward is a change of ownership. And I've got 3 criteria for what I want for Man United. I want us to retain our soul as a football club. I want us to be competitive on the pitch. And I want us to have a varied social demographic in terms of our fans that can go to the game every week or every other week. I.e., it's not just the financial elite that can afford to go, or that they're trying to pull into the ground. And other people might not care about that 3 criteria, but for me as a United fan, that's what I want as my 3 criteria to have at my club. And these owners won't do that. No chance. So the only way that can happen is with a change of ownership. Will it happen? Comes back to all the stuff we spoke about many times before. I hope so, but this next round of loud complaints needs to turn into a proper full-fledged protest with strategy and an end game that is, we don't stop until the Glazers leave the club. So there we go. That's my thoughts on that bigger picture stuff. I'm going to do a video thinking more about the Sociedad game, a few things on Manu Garnacho, a little bit more on the protest and looking ahead to Arsenal as well. But I like doing videos like this. I think they're more important in many ways because it's about the actual future of our club and what's going on. I repeat, with the Amrim stuff, but really potentially an elite manager for me. But in a culture of crisis management, is he a crisis manager? Is he a firefighter? Is he the right man for this stage of United's development? We've got him now, so I'll back him to the hill. Don't want him to go anywhere, and we have to persevere. And I'm just saying, in hindsight, I think maybe if the club would have had conviction to meet the needs of the stage we're at, it could have been a different decision. Glazers out.